I first started recording, they wouldn't let me record this on the radio because they said it was too controversial at the time.
A record label buried a song for 3 years because it was too honest. A television network told a country legend to change one single word, live, on the air, and he refused. A radio format erased an entire group from the airwaves almost overnight, and it happened this century, not 50 years ago.
Everybody knows that you've loved once. They think you'll...
Country music has always sung about real life, but real life doesn't always make it past the censors, and every song on this list found that out the hard way.
My hands are all dirty from working.
Welcome back to the Country Trails. Number 10 starts with a woman who dared to sing a man's song exactly the way it was written, one word flipped, and one industry deeply uncomfortable with what that meant.
My mind's on a number.
Number 10, Help Me Make It Through the Night, Sammi Smith, 1970.
Take the ribbon from my hair.
Chris Christopherson wrote this quiet, aching song about wanting nothing but company for one lonely night, reportedly inspired by a magazine quote from Frank Sinatra about what gets a person through hard times, and he first offered it to his friend Dottie West, who turned it down for being too suggestive.
It's sad to be alone.
Sammi Smith recorded her own version later that year and made one small but enormous change, flipping the opening line from "Take the ribbon from your hair" to "Take the ribbon from my hair," turning the narrator from a man asking to a woman openly wanting, something country radio simply hadn't heard from a female voice before.
Loose and let it fall.
Several stations hesitated to play it at all, uneasy with a woman singing so directly about desire. But the song still climbed to number 1 on the country charts and crossed into the pop top 10, eventually earning Smith a Grammy and a permanent place in the Grammy Hall of Fame.
Laying soft again.
Smith herself never understood the fuss, later saying she simply found the song honest rather than scandalous, and her refusal to soften it helped open the door for the more openly outlaw country movement she'd go on to be part of throughout the decade.
And
Number 9, Irma Jackson, Merle Haggard, 1972.
I'd love to shout my feelings from a mountain high.
Merle Haggard wrote this quiet love song about an interracial couple kept apart by a small town's prejudice back in 1969, intending it as the natural follow-up single to his massive hit Okie from Muskogee, a song that had just made him a hero to a very different kind of audience.
Jackson till I die. If my love...
Capitol Records refused to release it. Label executive Ken Nelson reportedly told Haggard directly that he didn't believe the world was ready for a song like this yet, and pushed him toward a different single instead, the patriotic Fightin' Side of Me, which became one of Haggard's signature hits in its place.
He alone should have the final say.
Irma Jackson sat shelved for 3 full years before finally appearing as a deep cut on a 1972 album, never released as its own single, and never given the chance to reach the audience Haggard originally wrote it for. Haggard remained unbothered by the years of silence around it, later saying he and his friend Johnny Cash both believed strongly in an artist's right to say what they meant, even when the industry around them clearly didn't agree.
But I'll love her.
Number 8. Margie's at the Lincoln Park Inn, Bobby Bear, 1969.
In the paper where I took the boat.
Most country songs about affairs came dripping in guilt by the second verse. This one didn't bother. Songwriter Tom T. Hall built the entire story around a married man calmly explaining, almost like he's giving directions, exactly where his mistress lives and exactly how he plans to keep both lives running at once. RCA held the song back for a period before finally releasing it, wary of just how openly it discussed an ongoing affair without any of the usual guilt or moral punishment country songs typically built in, and several radio stations declined to add it to their playlists once it did arrive. Despite that resistance, Margie's at the Lincoln Park Inn still climbed to number 4 on the country charts. But the censorship went further than radio silence. Bear was scheduled to perform it live on American Bandstand and was not allowed to sing it on the broadcast at all.
Next Sunday.
Bobby Bear built much of his career on exactly this kind of quiet defiance, choosing songs that told the truth about ordinary people's messy lives rather than the tidier version radio programmers usually preferred.
My mind's on.
Number 7. Blackjack County Chain, Willie Nelson, 1967.
I was sitting beside the road in Blackjack County.
Songwriter Red Lane first pitched this song to Charlie Pride, a brutal story of a chain gang taking violent revenge on the sheriff who'd enslaved them. But Pride turned it down immediately, certain the subject matter would bring exactly the kind of backlash he'd spent years trying to avoid.
Again, to a black snake whip.
Willie Nelson, still years away from his outlaw country breakthrough, recorded it instead, and RCA Records believed in it enough to take out a full-page trade ad predicting it would climb straight to the top of the country charts.
And heaven help me to forget that night in
The prediction looked right for a while. Blackjack County Chain climbed to number 21 on the Billboard country chart before country radio pulled it entirely, banning it outright over its graphic violence, cutting off its momentum before it ever had the chance to finish the climb.
a cold, cold rain. When we beat him,
It remains one of the clearest examples of a song banned purely for its content, rather than any scandal around the artist. Proof that even a decade before Nelson became the face of outlaw country, he was already recording the songs Nashville's more cautious voices wouldn't touch.
to death with the 35 pounds of Blackjack County chain.
Number 6. Down from Dover, Dolly Parton, 1970.
I know the stress I'm wearing doesn't hide the
Dolly Parton wrote this devastating song about an unwed teenage girl abandoned by her family and her boyfriend after getting pregnant, ending with the baby stillborn, drawing directly on real stories she'd grown up hearing about girls in her own Appalachian community.
the only one I loved, and I just can't believe.
Her mentor, Porter Wagoner, warned her before it was even released that a song this direct about an unwed pregnancy would never get played on the radio, and he turned out to be exactly right. RCA itself considered it too controversial to release as a single at all.
Things almost ended.
The disc jockeys who did get access to the album track largely avoided it, and Down from Dover never became a hit in the way Parton's other songs did, quietly sidelined despite Parton herself calling it one of the best things she'd ever written.
And now the leaves are turning brown.
Parton has said in later interviews that what actually got the song kept off the air wasn't the baby's death, it was simply the fact that the girl in the song had gotten pregnant outside of marriage at all, a reflection of just how narrow the acceptable subject matter for a woman's song still was in 1970. We're just past the halfway point, and the next 4 stories somehow raise the stakes even higher, including an artist suspended from the biggest stage in country music for defending the wrong group of strangers, and a single word that nearly got cut from live national television.
On the ground.
If any of these stories surprise you, drop a comment and let me know. And if you want more real, deeply researched country music history like this every week, go ahead and subscribe to the Country Trails right now. Number 5. Rated X, Loretta Lynn, 1972.
Well, if you've been a married woman and
Loretta Lynn had already built a career writing bluntly about marriage, drinking, and heartbreak from a woman's point of view when she released this song, calling out the double standard divorced women faced in small towns, treated as damaged goods, while divorced men faced no such judgment at all.
But I think it's wrong. The judge have a picture of a cheap.
Several radio stations found the subject matter too pointed for daytime airplay, uneasy with a song that named the hypocrisy so directly, rather than simply implying it, and some programmers quietly left it off their playlists entirely.
All the thinking of is your experience that love all their mind.
The pushback didn't stop the song from climbing to #1 on the country charts anyway, and Lynn later said she heard from countless women who'd lived through exactly what the song described and had simply never heard anyone say it out loud on the radio before. Lynn's willingness to keep writing this directly, even as her fame grew and the safer path would have been to soften her material, became one of the defining traits of her entire career, a pattern she'd repeat again just a few years later with an even more controversial single.
Nobody knows where you're going.
Number 4, Skeeter Davis, Grand Ole Opry, 1973.
Why does the sun go on shine?
On December 8, 1973, Skeeter Davis witnessed Nashville police arresting members of a Christian street preaching group at a local shopping center after shoppers complained about being approached, and she was visibly shaken by what she'd seen just hours before her own Opry performance that night.
The world, it ended when you said.
Davis walked out on stage and told the audience directly that people had just been arrested for nothing more than telling strangers that Jesus loved them, then dedicated her performance of Amazing Grace to them, an unplanned, unscripted moment of protest broadcast live on the Opry's national radio audience.
Why do these eyes of
Opry management was not pleased. Within a week, General Manager Bud Wendell called Davis personally to tell her that her membership was suspended indefinitely, banning her entirely from performing on the show that had been her artistic home since 1959.
life goes on the way it does?
The suspension lasted roughly a year before the Opry welcomed her back, and Davis continued performing there for decades afterward. But the message to every other Opry artist watching was unmistakable: defend the wrong people on the wrong night, and even a star of her stature could be silenced.
Why does my
Number 3, Sunday Mornin' Comin' Down, Johnny Cash, 1970.
Well, I woke up Sunday morning with no
Chris Christopherson wrote this raw, unglamorous hangover song and delivered the demo to Cash by helicopter, landing it directly in Cash's front yard because he was convinced Cash was the only artist who could do it justice.
that I lost somewhere, somehow along.
When Cash prepared to perform it live on his own network television show, ABC's censors asked him to change one specific line, swapping wishing, Lord that I was stoned, for wishing, Lord that I was home, worried the original lyric was too explicit for a family television audience.
And caught the Sunday smell of someone's.
Cash refused, quietly and completely. He sang the original lyric exactly as Christopherson had written it, stressing the word stoned as he looked up toward the balcony where Christopherson himself was watching the taping, reportedly moved to tears by the gesture.
Kid playing with a can that he was kicked.
The performance aired without incident, no complaints followed, and the song went on to win the 1970 Country Music Association Award for Song of the Year, becoming one of the clearest examples in country music history of an artist simply refusing to be edited. Number 2. It Wasn't God Who Made Honky Tonk Angels, Kitty Wells, 1952. Kitty Wells was 33, a mother of 3 considering leaving music behind entirely, when producer J.D. Miller brought her a song answering Hank Thompson's hit, The Wild Side of Life, which had placed all the blame for broken marriages squarely on women. Wells's answer insisted the men chasing women in honky-tonks while married deserved just as much blame, and the reaction was immediate and severe. NBC's radio network banned the song outright for being too suggestive. The BBC banned it across Britain, and the Grand Ole Opry initially refused to let Wells perform it live on its own broadcast. None of that stopped the record from becoming a phenomenon. It wasn't God who made Honky Tonk. Angels spent 6 weeks at #1 on the country charts, making Kitty Wells the first woman in history to top the chart as a solo artist, in a genre where women simply weren't expected to have hits of their own at all. The censorship that tried to bury the song instead made it a landmark, and Wells carried the title Queen of Country Music for the rest of her life, proof that an entire broadcasting industry could try to silence a record and still watch it become one of the most important in the genre's history. Number 1, Travelin' Soldier, Dixie Chicks, 2003.
2 days past 18.
The Dixie Chicks were riding high, with Travelin' Soldier climbing toward #1 on the country airplay chart in March 2003, when lead singer Natalie Maines told a London audience the group was ashamed to share a home state with President George W. Bush, just days before the United States invaded Iraq. The backlash in the United States was immediate and overwhelming. Major country radio conglomerates pulled the group's music from station playlists almost entirely within days. Some stations organized public events where fans destroyed Dixie Chicks CDs, and Travelin' Soldier's rapid climb up the charts simply stopped cold. The group received death threats serious enough to require security at their tour dates that year, and country radio's near-total blackout of their music marked one of the most sweeping and immediate acts of industry-wide censorship in the genre's modern history, unfolding in days rather than years. 4 years later, the Dixie Chicks released Not Ready to Make Nice, addressing the controversy directly, and swept the 2007 Grammy Awards with it, winning Song, Record, and Album of the Year, a full-circle answer from an industry that had once tried to erase them completely. That's the countdown. 10 songs that country radio tried to silence, soften, or shut out entirely, and every single one of them found its way to an audience anyway. If one of these stories surprised you, tell me below, and I'll see you on the next trail.